I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular meeting of the Moose Lake City Council for Wednesday, August 14th, 2019. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you everyone for being here today. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes, corrections, additions?
Motion to approve.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Consent agenda. The minutes for July 10th, 2019, Moose Lake City Council regular meeting. Any questions or discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda minutes?
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Under 2B financial reports, we have the city accounts payable for August 2019, the city financial statements for July 2019, and the liquor store profit and loss statements for July 2019. Any discussion or questions on the financial reports?
I have one. There's two campground refunds on here. I was just wondering what was the refunds for?
They just got the day before they said they were going to pay.
Oh.
So they paid initially for the entire stay.
Okay.
I think one of them was a medical,
Yeah.
and they had to be because of medical.
Thank you.
Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept the financial reports?
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Under number 3, public comment. This time reserved for comments from the public on matters not listed on the agenda. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Hearing none, we'll move on to number 4, department reports. Police Chief, department report for July 2019.
Morning, Council. Been another very busy month, just a couple things to hit on. 80 days all around went very well. A lot of people in town, a lot of traffic. Again, by the way, very, very congested. The officers directing traffic most of the day, definitely needed. But again, it's very, very congested and busy, and we're Stampede was really good. Everything else was well, and the park was good. A lot of traffic down there as well. National Night was a huge success. We had over 500 people that ate and several more people that came. Had over 100 runners in the color run. Just heard a lot of real positive comments and a lot of encouraging words from the public and police department, so that's always nice. Have some upcoming training in September, doing our mandatory taser training and qualification shoot as well. Yeah.
You see, you have 190 calls for that church tonight. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's busy town. Never ends.
Thank you very much. Please pass it on to the staff.
Thank you.
The Public Works Superintendent report.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, busy month. It's very, very busy. Say that every time I'm up here, but it seems like it is just busy. Water department, we'll start there. Distributed 4.6 million gallons of drinking water in the month of July. Had a water break for water service repair. We fixed the 22nd down in Birch. Everyone can probably see some of the fire hydrants are getting a little makeup put on. They look good. They look they do, they look really nice. I have to say that, they just do. So anyway, sewer department, collection system collected 17.5 million gallons of wastewater in the month of July. Going to be starting our discharge here in September. We got a string of discharges at the wastewater plant. Probably got upwards of 5 of them, which usually we do 4. And I say discharge, and everyone thinks it's not a big deal, turn on a valve, but there's multiple testing, sampling, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. There's a lot of after-hours stuff and weekend stuff that goes into it too, that we try to balance out the best we can. It works pretty good, so. That'll be coming up here. Quarterly sewer cleaning, did that here last week, actually, we were right downtown here early one morning, making a whole lot of noise, hopefully we didn't get too many complaints, but it is what it is. They're televising the campground, that's in your, in the engineer's report, I believe. That was completed end of last week. That actually happened a little sooner than we thought. So that is done. Street department, pothole filling as usual, done on a monthly basis. Blacktop patches for repairs. We did have a couple instances where utility companies were not following through with their permits for right-of-ways for not water and sewer, electric, but other utilities. And we had to get down on them really good. There was one patch I think was standing for over 2 years that we ended up taking care of. We got to figure it out, take care of, and the money's going to get dispersed properly. But we really had to get on them. And there's some things that Tim and I might talk about to go along with that in the future, so that doesn't happen again. Sidewalk repairs. There was sidewalk repairs on 5th Street, on 1st Street. I think we did some on 3rd Street. Poured a couple of new concrete pads down at the park for the campground, or at the park, the city park. Part of what the bank is donating to us, to the city, which I have to say, we really appreciate that. That's a really nice gesture they're doing. When those are done, they're gonna be really nice. We got one going in down here by the lights too. They are really gonna spruce everything up. Things are gonna look really nice. Concrete was poured a lot of concrete this month, I guess. Concrete pads were poured at the Herb Clemens Memorial as well, and new concrete benches were poured and put in place there as well. So, cemeteries, they are looking really, really, really good. We are having some water issues up there at both cemeteries, both locations. When we had an accident, the mower guy actually ran over a standpipe for a water riser that got shut off last week. The system is down for right now, it'll be fixed next week. And then I think the pump went out of the well at the other cemetery, and that was in, I think, 2 weeks ago. And honestly, I've just looked past it, I haven't done anything about it. So, but it is on the agenda to get taken care of. Other than that, that's about all I got.
There was one question we had, person that visits the cemetery, that did you respond to them, I think with a letter that?
I called and talked to them. I think everyone was CC'd on that email, so I called and talked to them today about the repairs.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you, crew, also, great job. Jim, on technology, library report?
For technology, we met with CW and went over our capital budget for the next 5 years, planning ahead for computer replacement, servers, and everything else. We need to replace about another third of our computers before the end of the year, which will be paid for out of capital funds for next year. But other than that, we're looking pretty good. That was pretty much everything that we talked about with CW was just that capital list. Library, I don't know if you have anything from the meeting, Walt, other than there's been quite a few events, and the new hours seem to be working out just fine. No one's really been complaining about it, so.
Yeah, well, the only thing I think we discussed about purchasing that computer, that was from the funds book sale.
Yeah, there's gonna be a second book sale in the fall.
4D city engineer, the report starts on page 35.
The biggest thing that we're talking about right now is the wells in the well house.
If anybody is interested in being a part of those discussions, it's the first Tuesday of the month that we meet. Let's see here. The first Tuesday of the month at 9 a.m. we meet with the engineers. We'll be talking about the well house for the next couple months. Some of the design stuff is beginning, what the building will look like, the shape, what's needed inside the well house. All of those things are being discussed. So it's a little bit more exciting than Phil explaining water testing stuff. Not yet, I think that's later on. I have something about that.
Any questions on the engineer report?
What time are those meetings on Monday?
9 a.m. It's this first Tuesday of the month at 9 a.m.
In the conference room.
And now that everyone was writing it down, if you're gonna come, let me know so I can make sure there's not three of you there.
Or,
But let me know well in advance.
You got notice, no?
I won't be there. I won't be there.
Yes, that would be the fall bid. Possibly, that's 3.
moving on to 4E, Chamber of Commerce updates.
Yeah, our new executive director, Allison Jones, starts on Monday, so we're looking forward to that. She's been working at One Heartland, so people I've talked to that know her said she's gonna be excellent, so we're really looking forward to having her on board. And meanwhile, the summer events have been pretty much completed. Our golf outing was down from other years as to the number of players. There was 14 short this year. And so, but next year, hopefully things will be different again. And right now, the chamber is conducting its raffle. So if you see any chamber members, tell them you want to buy a ticket if they don't offer one to you. The drawing for the raffle will be on September 14th at Brewfest. That'll be at Campers this year. They're gonna get a tent out there and have Brewfest there. That's the drawing will be at 7 p.m. And that's all for right now. Any questions?
We should really invite the new director to
Yeah.
come to the next city council, just to introduce herself.
Right, yes, yeah.
And to the community, that would be nice if possible.
I'll do that. I'll make sure she comes. She'll be at the next chamber meeting. You'll get to meet her, but I'll invite her here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lois.
We do have, yes, here tonight, Megan. I think we'll jump ahead to 6A and we'll come back to 5 after that. So 6A is tobacco 21 presentation.
Thanks for the invite, Tim and Mayor and Council. Thanks for having me tonight. Just wanted to give a quick overview and update on where we're at with Tobacco 21, the potential ordinance within Carleton County. So I'm Megan Levitt. I work for Carleton County Public Health and Human Services. I'm one of the health educators. And a while back, our commissioners, including Commissioner Peterson, asked us to kind of look at what a Tobacco 21 ordinance might look like within Carleton County. And so since then, we've put together a couple of community forums. They did have a little bit lower attendance. We did have one at the high school here in Moose Lake and then in Cloquet also, just to kind of come at it at a public health approach of informing the community about the potential of what a Tobacco 21 ordinance would look like. And then we also included some information about juuling and vaping and all of that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where we started, and from here on out, we're going to be putting together a meeting with the stakeholders. So Tim is going to be attending that, along with the City of Cloquet and Fond du Lac representative, and then our county commissioners. In Carlton County, the city of Moose Lake, city of Cloquet, and Fond du Lac all licensed tobacco retailers separate from the county. And so we're gonna come at it as a collaborative approach and look at a draft policy. With the statewide health improvement partnership grant that we work under, we have access to a couple technical assistance supports through the state, so American Lung Association and the Public Health Law Center. Public Health Law Center has really helped us to draft an ordinance and talk about the possible inclusions. So when we get all of those partners together, we'll take a peek at that, look at the inclusions, and talk about what it looks like for passing it within Carlton County. So backing up a little bit on the kind of what it is and the why we're doing it. The basics of Tobacco 21 is raising the legal sales age of tobacco to 21 from 18. And there's a couple of reasons why we're doing that. From a public health standpoint, 95% of adult addicted smokers started before the age of 21. So that's kind of one of the big pieces. And then the National Academy of Medicine reports that if the tobacco age was raised to 21 nationally, that there would be a 25% reduction in the smoking initiation amongst 15 to 17-year-olds, 223,000 fewer premature deaths, and 50,000 fewer deaths from lung cancer. So kind of there's a lot of numbers, and I'll leave these statistics with him and he can pass those out too. But we think about raising the sales age to 21, that initiation rate between 15 and 17-year-olds, and taking that other statistic of 95% starting before the age of 21, becoming addicted before the age of 21. If we raise the sales age to 21, that takes 18-year-olds out of the picture of purchasing tobacco who are still in high school. So those 18-year-olds who are still in high school are able to purchase for friends most of the time. According to the 2017 Minnesota Youth Tobacco Survey, 60% of kids who are using e-cigarettes right now are getting them from friends. So if they take that out of the picture, it's much less likely that a 15 to 17-year-old is going to have a 21-year-old in their sphere of influence and in their group of friends to buy tobacco from. There's a city in Massachusetts that actually passed this back in 2005, and they've seen a drop by nearly half in their youth using tobacco. So that's been a really good outcome for somebody who's had it for quite a while now. So that's I wanted to keep it somewhat short and sweet, give you the basics, but I'm here to answer questions, and like I said, I'll leave some of this information with him, and then I have a couple infographics too that I'll leave that talk about increasing the age to 21, what that all includes. And then I have actually one on Carlton County specific youth tobacco use also. It's not specific to Tobacco 21, but it kind of gives you a picture based on the last Minnesota Student Survey. It'll be interesting to see. They will be releasing the 2019 Minnesota Student Survey results in the next couple weeks here. So we're looking forward to seeing the difference in some of this youth tobacco use from 2016. So, any questions right off the bat?
Are you looking at anything, any support from us at this time? Just kind of informational from us?
Yeah, just kind of informational at this point. Like I said, our meeting just got scheduled for August 28th, I believe. So Tim will be at that, and he'll be part of that conversation about what the potential next steps will be. So he can either bring that back or we can come over.
So I think for the next meeting, I'll take the handouts and then put those in the packet for next month, and then bring back anything from our meeting later in the month and kind of keep the conversation going.
Is the state legislators looking at doing this statewide at all, do you know?
Yeah, so right now 36 cities and 8 counties have done this on their own. The state did look at it this last legislative session. It didn't go through. Partly we've heard because of timing with a lot of bills needing to be heard, not enough time for everything to go through. So that's what the feedback we got, but it wasn't because there was a lot of opposition or anything. So potentially the next go round, but also knowing that Carlton County in general has been a leader for health around the state. I think that's kind of one of the reasons that the commissioners are looking at this is keeping our citizens healthy, really. Good question.
Out of 8 counties, are they more of the rural counties or the
Yeah.
central counties?
Actually, most of them are rural, yeah. Yep. And I can pass on the website that kind of lists those counties and cities too. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
no
it.
problem.
Going back to 5 previously discussed business, 5A is a special assessment policy.
Starting on page 38 is the graphics that our engineers brought last time regarding the different percentage examples. And then the policy begins on page 41. We changed, if you remember last time, there was several highlighted sections. We changed all of them to include what we talked about from the last time. The only areas that are still highlighted are the percentage, and then the very last page is if the ordinance was adopted, we would need to fill that section out. So the big thing that we took away from the last time is the remainder that we need to decide upon is if we want to have an assessment policy, what is the percentage that we want to use within our policy.
Before we start that discussion, I've had some conversation with a few community members, and there's another option that we could look at besides assessment, and that is, would be putting Tim back to work on another proposal to us. That is looking at a tax percentage instead of an assessment. And the reasoning that was given to me is that everybody uses the roads, maybe not as much as the people living on them, but at some time during the year, everyone uses it. And they thought that doing, having Tim looking at a tax and putting that amount aside permanently in an account for use only with infrastructure and roads would then not necessitate, have the necessity of having an assessment policy. So maybe I'll leave that with Tim to maybe discuss that a little bit.
Sure. So the mayor and I talked about this for a little bit, and the biggest thing with the assessment policy versus just levying an additional amount that would be earmarked or restricted just for road projects is we know that there's a gap in funding that we have for these road projects. So we have X amount of money coming from sales tax, the gas franchise fee, and then there's this remainder. So the things that we have to play with are basically the length of time in between road projects or coming up with another way to fund to close that financial gap and doing them in a shorter period of time. If we are to do the assessment policy, the thing that we need to know is what is the percentage that guides us in how long a period we have in between road projects. If we look at doing a levy increase, the only thing that I need to know is a dollar amount per year, and it would work the same way as the sales tax or the gas franchise fee, where basically we set aside this dollar amount into a restricted fund for construction, and each year we would levy for that, those funds. And basically as that balance grew, every time that we were able to do a road project, it would go back to zero, and then we would start back over again, building that reserve back up. So if we pick any dollar amount, I can tell you what the levy increase that would correspond with that is. It is a way to spread the cost over, say, instead of 150 residents, it would be over all residents for every road project, with the understanding that everybody uses every road. So an example would be if we were to say set aside $100,000 per year, that would be approximately a 5% levy increase. We would take that section of money, put it aside into a restricted fund, and each year we would levy and continue that balance moving towards a road project. If there's a different dollar amount, it's obviously a different percentage, but basically you're playing with length of time in between road projects. Does that make sense?
And I think everybody would see, instead of people getting hit with let's say a $50 a month or $100 a month for 15 years, you're talking maybe it's $50, $60 a year divided into 12 months. So it affects the people a lot less, and just another option. I wanted the council to think about that, and I think Tim would have to put together a little bit for the budget for September, and we'd have a time for you to think about it. It's another option, another way of doing this without hitting individuals on the road so heavily. Of course, that's depending on their lot and house and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
so.
I will say that there are plenty of examples of communities that do it this way. It has the same struggle that an assessment policy has, which is initially setting it up is going to be unpopular. However, once it is set up and built into an annual budget year in and year out and projects are being done, it's just another part of paying property taxes. I will say that doing it with a levy rather than a special assessment makes it so that we likely would no longer bond for projects. So if you do an assessment, you're taking a cost and spreading it out over 15 years, and we would need to bond for the assessment portion. If we just levy for it and there's a certain amount of money coming in each year, once that balance or that reserve got to however much a road project cost, we would just spend that down and start it back over again. So there would be some savings in doing it through a levy rather than a special assessment, but it's I guess just a different way of handling it.
And of course, that leaves the council with probably three options: looking at the assessment, looking at the levy, or doing nothing and going longer in between projects.
Correct.
And we would need to make a decision, I would imagine, next month, because you want to do the preliminary budget passed and that would roll.
Right, I mean, it kind of comes down to if we're doing a road project, excuse me, if we're doing a road project next year, there's that gap in funding, and I need to know if we're going to be able to fund that. And if we're not, then we're just initially pushing a road project down the road a little bit further. So, yeah, if we're going to levy for it, I need to know by next month. If we're assessing, we have probably 2 months to plan for road projects for next year. Otherwise, we're getting into another year down the road.
So, council, questions, discussion?
Well, I guess I'd be interested in learning more about this levy. Personally, I am not supporting a special assessment. So that's off the table for me.
I guess I have some concerns about, with both the assessment and the tax increase, with not knowing what the county and the state are going to do here in the future this year for possible tax increases. With the new jail, if that would be a property tax increase, or if they are thinking about funding that through a sales tax, or how they are looking to do that. And I worry about the state. I don't see the state decreasing spending. I see them increasing it. I wonder about the state doing tax increases at the same time, which if they do, that makes the decision to raise the taxes in Moose Lake more difficult, for me anyways. Does the county have an idea of how they would go about funding this jail project? Have you guys reached a point in your discussions on that, or?
We are looking at trying to fund the jail with a half-cent sales tax.
With the 0.5% sales
Might
tax?
come up to 40,
Okay.
just a second. Thank you. Thanks, Commissioner.
Yeah, as we're moving forward with the jail, things kind of changed at the legislature. We thought in November we were going to put that out to the public about building the jail using a half-cent sales tax. But now things have changed down there, so we have to go to legislature first, so it kind of pushed it off a year. And we have to get their approval, just like the city of Duluth, when they wanted a half-cent sales tax to deal with their road problem. You know, they had to get the support of the people in Duluth, and then they had to go to legislature. And so that's what we're looking at. We're not looking at, you know, property taxes are already too high in this county.
Okay, so
And,
we're not looking at property tax increases at this time in.
For the jail. You know, I'm not on the finance committee this year, so I'm not sure exactly where we're at right now. We're in the process of doing our budget and things like that.
Okay.
And then, like I said, on the Barnum shop, what was decided on that we are doing a $15 wheelage tax, and then we're taking a small percentage of our half-cent sales tax that was used for roads, because it's used for, you know, the building that houses our transportation equipment, that it's allowed to go there. And so we're not using any property taxes to do that remodeling and adding on to the Barnum transportation building. So that's where we're kind of at.
Can I ask what a village tax is?
When you renew your license tabs, right now it says 0 for a wheelage tax. So if, like, for example, I have 2 winter cars and 2 summer cars and an old truck. My newest vehicle is a 92. And so I would have to pay, when I renew their license tabs, I would pay $15 for each vehicle that I have. So if you only have one vehicle, you would be paying $15, you know, depending on what you have.
And that's for the people that live in Carlton County. Or-
Yeah, that's with people that live here and their car is registered here, but, you know, we have a lot of people here that live on the lake or even live on my road that have a cabin, but they're from a different part of Minnesota, they buy their license, they would be paying that wheelage tax here. So that's what it is. We don't have it right now. Pine County had it for a while, and then they decided to drop that and just go with half-cent sales tax.
So that's something you could have for a while and then drop.
What we decided on the $15 wheelage tax, that we would do that until the Barnum shop was paid off, and then it would go away. But that would pay for the, you know, the bonding and the payment for that Barnum shop.
That'd probably be 15 years, probably.
Yeah, 15 or 20 years, unless things change at the legislature and they start giving us a little bit more money for transportation. I don't think we've had a transportation bill for a while. They always talk about it and then it never gets done. But if they decide to, you know, weren't they talking last year about raising the gas tax and different things like that? So if they pass a bill at the legislature, then they would provide more money for the city of Moose Lake and townships and the county if something. So that could change the equation down the road.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Any further questions, comments from the council? Do we have consensus for looking at the proposal? I think, Chris, you said you'd be interested in looking at that. There's
I'd
another
like to hear
option.
more about that.
Yeah, I think where we're at with this assessment policy, 30%, we have so many people that can afford anything near that. If running the numbers, 10% is realistic, and that's would put us probably what we'd be paying for levy for the citizens, so.
Great.
gets more information about the jail.
I think we've already expressed yourself with it. All right, then we have consensus on city administrator. Next city council meeting. And then I'll leave that decision for the budget.
We can look at it as a win.
All right. Okay, moving on, the county prosecution services contract.
We talked a little bit about this. The mayor and myself, and the county attorney, I think our county commissioner might sit in as well, are going to meet to discuss the prosecution services contract that we had back in 2009, and we haven't had since. I think that she is quite interested in trying to get something put in place to help fund her budget, and we will likely make the opposite argument. So basically, I wanted to bring it up, ask if anybody had anything that they would like us to pass along. Otherwise, we will be meeting September 4th, I believe. So, yeah.
Any further questions, comments by the council? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business, to 6D, working council meeting for the 2020 budget.
So similar to years past, I'd like to have a working council meeting. No decisions would be made at this meeting, but would allow us to go a little bit more detailed into the budget. I'm looking at like the first week of September. We need to have our initial levy passed by the 15th, which is probably the 13th then. I'm not sure if they push it back to the 16th or not, but if we meet the first week of September, that would allow us to make any changes by the 11th city council meeting, so we could set our initial levy then. Wednesday the 4th.
What time is our meeting on the 4th?
I have something at night. Does anybody have anything going on Thursday? Do we need to do it at night for everyone here? Yes. How about Thursday evening?
The 5th.
The 5th.
I'm open.
You're open?
What time would it be at? 4 o'clock. Otherwise I have to move at 6.
Again?
Okay, so let's do it for Thursday at 4. Thursday the 5th at 4. So I'll put together the PowerPoint and all of that stuff, and we'll be able to go over it. The other thing with that is, as we're putting it together, we're just about done. Is there anything that you all would like to see included other than now this topic of road projects and things like that?
Weird name. Very good. Thank you. Moving on to 6C.
That's what that was.
That's completed. 6D, HVAC codes for City Hall.
All right, page 56 and 57 are quotes for replacing one of the rooftop units. This was in our capital budget. I think we have 6 or 7 rooftop units, and rather than having them all break at once, I'd like to replace one at a time here. They are all certainly ready to be replaced. So we did budget for this. My suggestion is that we go with Region. They are a little bidder at, I think that says $6,867.
It also states something about stand that's added for 1,500.
We do not need for 1,500. No, that the economizer is
Economizer, I'm sorry.
is 1,500. The economizer is an add-on that I would probably suggest that we add on, but that was not part of the original. The economizer, basically on a day like today, if it's calling for cooling, and it's cooler outside and it doesn't actually need to run the air conditioner, it can just pull just outside air and blow it through. It's considerably more efficient. I would suggest that we probably do that. But for this purpose, I just need the original quotes.
On which build, what building are you talking?
This.
This building.
So this would be the air handler for the kitchen, and then there's a storage room that's over there. The storage room that's over there, they have, I think, 3 freezers in there, and it makes it work a little bit harder than it probably should.
Happy to our servers is.
Yep.
So looking for a motion on
I
this?
made a motion on the resolution.
I'll second that.
Any questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And then are you okay with me adding the economizer in there?
Yeah, I'm fine with that, because it's pretty close to what the other bid was
Yeah.
without it. And we have it in the budget.
Good. Yes, we budgeted more than this. Okay. Did you guys vote on that, or just make a motion in a second?
We did vote on it.
Didn't vote?
Give a second.
Yep,
Do you want that added in on the motion?
sure. I mean, it's within I can go up to 1,500, so. if you
I
guys-
myself, but
Yeah.
why don't we just do it all with the motion?
Okay.
I'll amend my motion to include the $1,500 for the economizer.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Under 6E, well house location.
As we've been talking about the new well house, on page 58 is a map. You can see the blue star is where the well house is currently located. It's right next to the campground office and right next to the park. If likely we are going to have a new well house building with 2 new pumps, and it would need to be moved to a new location so that we could build it while the other pumps are still working. So in planning where that could go, a new location for the well house, basically the land that we own, we would be moving the wells closer into the park, like towards the pavilion and band shell and all of that stuff. That is an option. There's technically enough room to do that, but I think we're putting a building in there that maybe doesn't need to go in the park. So what I am asking is permission to start having a conversation with the new owners of the school. There's a parcel that's highlighted in red there where there's a garage on. If we were to purchase that, it would be right next to the well house, in a location that's very accessible, that we would be able to separate the wells by a further distance than we can right now, and have a much better setup for our well house than otherwise.
How large is the building on the park?
I can't remember how big it was. It's not very big. I mean, you're talking like 36, 40 feet.
The existing one?
No, the new one. 30 by 30? And we have been talking about designs, like aesthetically at the outside. It will look pretty nice, because it's in a residential neighborhood. We're not gonna put up, just a plain cement building. It'll have, siding and things like that. But I still don't know that we want to put it in the park unless that's our last resort.
Yeah, just encourage you to go into negotiation.
Yeah, and I'm not looking for like a motion to buy it, because I don't even know what the price would be. So I'm just asking for permission to kind of go down that road with the new owners of the old school.
Adam, too.
I'd rather see it not in the park myself. If they did build it in that area, then I'd have to cut down a lot of those trees, I'm not sure. And then how the area that,
Great. Good. All right.
There is another option, which would be the tennis courts.
Do you want to talk about both of them?
That would mean that we would no longer have tennis courts there, so.
Well, they're not in use right now because they're in such, they're deteriorated so bad. They're not in use.
I know that. I want to make sure that you guys are okay with that before I go start going down that path.
I'm fine. I'd bring it to either one.
Okay. So I'll just have a couple conversations with them and see where it leads.
Success for depot expansion.
The Historical Society is talking once again about trying to go down to the state for a bonding request to expand the depot. Last time that they came to us, it was kind of late into the session and it got a little messy. So they're trying to start it a little bit earlier. This time, instead of it being an L-shaped building, they're looking at just adding on to the back of it and having it still, basically it would just be a continuation of the building. They are going to start working with the county EDA executive director, maybe looking at some additional funding sources, hopefully. Right now, their plan is to request 100% from the state. That's, I'm a little hesitant to move forward with that. But they would need, basically, we would be submitting the capital request to the state for this project because it is a city-owned property and the building is city-owned as well. So it would be the city asking for funding from the state. They're going to provide us with information and come and speak to us. Prior to that, I just wanted to find out from you guys if there's anything specific that you wanted to see from them. Obviously a cost estimate, the layout, all of those kinds of things, but is there anything else that you would like to see from them for them to make their presentation here?
Well, not necessarily that, but can you just tell us what the expansion would be for?
Storage room and a, what they call it, like a research room.
Research.
And then there would be a stairway going up to the attic under to them.
For additional storage.
Use that for additional storage.
You know where those trailers are right now, we have the storage trailers. They would be built there, and those would disappear. But this would be there, I mean, we have to act as the administrator of the funding, but this is their project there. We would want them to say that's supported and paid for it. We don't know what the EDA will come up with, if anything. We're just hoping that the new EDA administrator can put together kind of a package for them. And it may include EDA funding at the county level. I don't know about this time, we don't know any more than that, but we're still waiting to hear also.
I'd like to see if they do not get any help from the EDA, what funding stream, if they can prove how they're going to pay this back in a timely manner.
All would have to come here.
But I understand that we're doing it, but they,
No, they're not looking to pay it back at all. They're looking for 100% grant from the state.
Well, that's probably not going to happen.
I agree.
That's what we told them, we should speak to the EDA administrator to look for a package, because I've never heard of the state funding anything 100%, usually 50-50. The only exception I've ever heard of is our school, where they went 60-40 and then ended up actually 70-30. But other than that, I don't I've never heard of that. I don't know if the commissioner has either. Yes, sir.
Our new economic development person, Mary, was here today, so we met with the Historical Society, Sharon and Steve, today, and provided all this information to Mary, and Mary's gonna look at it, and, you know, she's got knowledge and background in bonding and all the different things, so she's going to work with them, and then they'll come back to you and do a presentation, and Mary said that she'd come at that time too, and, you know, there's possibilities of a legacy grant, or there's different possibilities out there. Just explore every option available to see if we can get this project to move forward. I think it'd be good for the city of Moose Lake, and all the people that stop up there, and all the things that happen up there, people, so. But we'll just have to wait and see what Mary puts together, and, you know, and then they'll come back here and present it to you, so we can make a good decision on this, you know, from accurate information.
Thank you. Any other questions by the council, by the city, please, the council? You're looking for,
Nothing.
we're not looking for, this is informational at this time?
Yeah, just if anybody wants me to pass something along to them, I can let them know. Or Greg can.
I guess we should have consensus though that they should move ahead with this council. Because it is a county, it is a city property.
I wouldn't approve doing anything yet.
I mean, they're moving ahead to look at the proposal even coming from county, what you think? We're not approving anything other than, yes, we agree that we look at funding for it.
They're already doing it, I believe. I know what you're saying. You're saying
I don't, to me, it should be, the city said, yeah, go ahead. It is our building and our property. God, I'm leaving that up to council, I guess.
I guess if that's what you want, I'm fine with them moving forward. Yeah.
All right, we have consensus. Very good. Number 7, reports and correspondence. I have nothing. Tim, do you have any items? Thank you. 8, committees and board meeting minutes. The Moose Lake Power regular meeting minutes for June 18, 2019. 8B is the Moose Lake Park Board minutes for July 8, 2019. 8C, Moose Lake Area Fire Protection meeting minutes for July 9, 2019. Just a quick question, you may want to mention about anything on the meeting. You mentioned about they're looking at a different fire truck.
Oh, yeah, they moved right in. They went down and they looked at a fire truck, and that was last month, and they decided not to purchase that one, but they're looking at another one at New Brighton now. They don't quite have any figures yet, they're thinking about going down Saturday, a couple of them to look at it, but they're not really very far along yet on deciding if that's the truck that they would like to purchase yet. I expect to find out more here at the next meeting. So, but they are definitely looking at providing a ladder truck.
Would that be a new truck or
It would be a new truck, that's.
That's
They're
used.
looking at
a new
purchasing.
used truck?
Yeah, a used truck,
Okay.
and I think they got a lot of different options out there. The last one was around 125,000, so I think that's around the ballpark figure what you're looking at. These ones in Brighton, they're still waiting to get some information on them, so I don't have any information on the cost of them or how old they are. So that's kind of still up in the air, but that's what they're looking at so far.
Are they looking at selling another piece of equipment if they were to purchase a ladder truck?
I did bring that up to them. I did get response, I asked them if they would be able to replace other equipment that they had. And it didn't sound like it, but I think that is still possibly something that can definitely be brought up and discussed with them. It's definitely a large purchase, that's for sure. And I'm definitely concerned about it myself, about making a large purchase like that. But I don't think that there's been enough information right now to see exactly which direction that they're heading. But, well, I mean, they are heading towards the time, and I know what kind it would be and how old and the price that.
Just a quick question, I can't remember what it was, is the money in the equipment fund to purchase
They
one?
do have a truck fund, I believe it's around $50,000 here after the last meeting that I saw. I wanted to check that number with some of the last meeting paper, it seemed to me that got down some, I don't know why that would be. I may have looked at the numbers wrong, so I wanted to check that, they do have around $50,000 now in it.
Thank you. Under 8D, Moose Lake Economic Development Authority meeting minutes, July 10th, 2019. Is there anything on the report to the council on that?
I had some quick questions. They're going to be doing some new house development on John Brown and Langhorse Drive. I was wondering if they were able to use the incentives that the city has.
Any new house would be able.
Any new house. So these houses, they said that they had already started construction on
One of them,
on
yeah.
one of them. And it's how many were they planning to go up?
That number's kind of changing. There was somebody that was gonna buy one on John Brown Drive, and I don't think that they ended up doing it. And then we had another person come in that's looking at buying one. And each person that has bought one has also said that they're planning on buying 2 or 3 and developing a couple houses while they go. So I'm not sure yet.
That's definitely good news.
Any questions for council on any of the committee or board meeting minutes? Hearing none, I'll move on to announcements. Regular Moose Lake City Council meeting Wednesday, September 11th at 4 p.m. Moose Lake Economic Development Authority Wednesday, September 11th at 12 p.m. in the conference room. Moose Lake Water and Light Commission regular meeting Tuesday, August 20th at 3 p.m. Water and Light House. Now that has changed. The meeting is already
September 17th.
September. The next Moose Lake Housing and Redevelopment Authority Board, September 9th at 11 a.m. Hillside Manor office. Moose Lake Area Fire District, Tuesday, September 10th, 6:30 p.m. at Emergency Response Center. Moose Lake Park Board meeting September 2nd, 6:30 p.m.
That's Labor Day. I don't know if you guys are.
No, we can't. We'll go to the next Monday,
Okay.
September 9th.
That's what I heard.
Park Board. It'll be Monday, September 9th, 6:30. It's right here at the council.
When's the next chamber and where?
It'll be in September now.
Yeah, it'll be the Thursday after our council meeting. And I don't know where it is. So September 12th.
Be at the Rustic Diner on the 12th at noon. In the barn.
And the last meeting, library board meeting, September 9th, 1 p.m. Right here. You have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.